All right. The Lord be with you. Welcome, everybody, to lunch and our congregational update. We've got a lot to say, but before we say it, I'm going to ask Pastor to pray for us. Just lean in close.
All right. We're not going to sing because he asked us not to, but it is Charles's birthday. So happy birthday, Charles. Can I say how old?
Thank you for coming to my party.
Yeah, we threw this whole shindig. 91 today. Let us pray. God of grace, we give you thanks for this day, for Charles to celebrate his birthday with us, and for this congregational update. We give thanks for the food and all the hands that have prepared it. Now, as we spend this time in conversation about our congregation, might you ignite the movement of the Holy Spirit and our awareness of it, how you are calling our congregation to move forward in our mission to share God's love so that all are served and supported. Amen.
Love your neighbor.
All right. We have a lot to cover. You may have noticed that in the announcements in church, Pastor Steve said that we're going to go as fast as humanly possible. With God's help, we'll go faster. Let's dive right in. My name is James Holden. I'm the council president, and it's an honor to be serving as your council president. I do want to mention that we have a number of counselors here today. If you're on council, will you shoot your hand up or something? We've got quite a few here. They also have a special, they also have a special name tag that says council member on there. So if you have anything you want to talk about, we would love to hear from you. Something we do at every meeting is we say, who has any feedback from the congregation to share? And usually it's crickets. We want to hear from you, including about this meeting. Because we have so much to cover, I am not taking any questions right now. And if you have any comments, write them down and then talk to me after or to one of our other council members. But we don't want to get too slowed down because there really is quite a bit to say. This is a good time to mention, if you memorized the council roster, I don't know why, but you may remember that Lloyd was previously serving on council. He has stepped off of council so that he can focus on the property committee at this church. Okay, so he's not just quitting. He's got a worse job now. So that's what that is. Thank you, Lloyd, for doing that. While I'm thanking people, I also want to thank our Meet and Eat people who have helped put on this fantastic meal. Thank you. Let's get into content. Okay, building stuff. So we have had a few things that have already happened, and we have a few things that are going to happen, we hope. One is related to heating and cooling. The HVAC system that we have for much of the building is about 25 years old and could die today, right? It could die at any moment. And we live in Boone. We've lived through the past 2 weeks. We know that this is not something that we can keep on with. So we have signed a contract with B&R, and we're going to get some new units going on. So that's in the works. Ideally, that'll be done this spring. Should be, hope so. That will also involve adding like centralized air conditioning to our offices and to the upstairs youth rooms. Libby's clapping, she knows. We do have some window units in there, and it's a pain, and they're loud, and they only work as well as they work. So this is going to be really good. Really excited about that. The other thing I want to mention about the building stuff right now is about the sound system. You may already know, and if you don't know, ask Sam, he'll tell you. Our sound system is not doing well. So some things have already been done. So for instance, we have new microphones, and we're using those. That's already happened. That's going on. The other piece is the sound board with the slideys, and basically all of the wires. Those need to be replaced. That is also something that could go out today and not work. And that's really we just can't do what we do right now if we don't have that. So something we are hopeful to do within the next months is to start purchasing and installing and having a new sound system. It takes money. And right now we haven't figured out how that's going to happen. But that is something that we are hopeful is going to come about in the coming months. More on building stuff. Oh, Pastor's got something to add? More on building stuff later for like long-term big things. Ministry, we are already, as you know, because you're here, we are already doing a lot of really outstanding things in the world of ministry. So you know that we have hired Liv to be our youth person. Is Liv still here? She was here.
Upstairs.
She's doing it right now. It is happening as we speak. We have a pretty thriving youth and family ministry going on, and it is in large part thanks to Liv's help and having a dedicated person who that's what she's doing. It's awesome. She's doing some really good work, including we've got eight youth going to the LYO retreat next weekend. Yeah, next weekend. That's pretty cool. And then there's also a planned mission trip to Nashville, and 7 youth are signed up for that right now. So that's outstanding. And we do collaborate with Bethany on some of those things as well. We'll take questions after, Roger. Sorry, write it down. But I'm glad you got it. I'm going to save that for later. As you know, and as they are here, LSA is in full swing as always. Thank you, Deacon Stacy, for your hard work on that, and for our LSAers and our LSA leaders who are doing phenomenal work. One thing, you know this, they do a lot of things. They meet most Wednesdays. They do all sorts of things. One thing in particular that they are doing is they are going on their spring break trip this year to Charleston, working with Habitat for Humanity. And thank you also to the congregation members who have been providing some meals for our LSA students. They appreciate that, and that's a great way to connect with LSA. Yeah, cool. All right. Libby has been doing out, and Susan, and all of our team. Sam also. Oh, he's not there anymore. Okay. Sam's hungry. All of our people who are involved in music have been doing outstanding work. You know this, we have... Boy, we didn't count it. We didn't count for a time for applause. You know this, we have a cantata every winter, and it is phenomenal. We have anthems most all Sundays. We have the bell choir. They're doing great work. Wonderful things are happening in the world of music. Something new that is going on this year, which you may already be aware of, is that we are doing a sort of a cantata in Lent as well. So it'll essentially be Passion Sunday, Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday will be in more of a cantata form than what we have done in the past. So that's something pretty exciting, and Libby says that you're going to like it.
And it is a cantata.
Okay.
And it will take us from Palm Sunday through Good Friday.
Great. Also want to mention that we have 2 choir scholars. So these are App State undergraduate students who are majoring. One's majoring in vocal performance. The other is majoring in music therapy. But we pay them to join our choir and to support our men's section, which at one time needed a lot of support and is getting better and better. Thank you to everybody who's doing that. Whew, okay, Grace Builders, they're still going too. They're building ramps. That's a lot of what's happening. The Woodlot ministry is still going, but a lot of the focus right now is on ramps. Harold, you want to give me a number of ramps? Number 51 that they're working on currently, and probably one to come. They're still doing that. They're still taking volunteers. If you want to volunteer, no experience necessary, I'm told. So if you didn't hear that, Woodlot is getting back going. It was severely impacted by a hurricane. More on hurricane later, but they're getting back to it. If you wish to volunteer with them, again, no experience of any sort necessary. That's 8:30 on Tuesday. They go until around noon or noon 30. Okay. Want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything critical. Great. Let's talk about money stuff. And I'm not going to give a lot of...
Grace is our youth intern.
Grace is our youth intern. Yeah. Sorry, Grace. Grace, who is sitting at the end over here, is our youth intern. She's been helping a lot with youth stuff, with children's church. She's been working with Liv very closely. So thank you, Grace, for your service. And Tyler. We'll talk about Tyler more, but Tyler has also been an intern, and he has been doing all sorts of things. You know him from preaching, but he leads Bible studies and other things as well. Speaking of Bible studies, we did not have this on our list, but you know this. We have quite a few Bible studies, Sunday school, different things going on. There's a lot of ministry happening at our church. Finances. I'm not going to give real numbers, but overall, our situation right now is, and this is Pastor's word, favorable, but there is pressure. What that means is we are not in crisis. We're doing okay. We have the money to pay for all of the things that we are doing normally, but there are things that are expenses that are coming, like sound system, that we will need more money for. So that is to say, there is no crisis, but there is a need still. So please continue being generous financially with our church. Really appreciate that. Great. Building updates looking forward. Is this you or is this me still?
I think it's still you.
Still me, okay. I've got two different sets of notes, one that I handwrote and one that's printed, so that's slowing me down. Sorry. So there's several things building-wise that are coming in the future that are, again, not crises, but they need to happen sometime. Some we've already mentioned, like the sound system, but there's other things that are kind of farther off. We're going to need to, I mentioned air conditioning stuff. That's essentially for this building. The sanctuary air conditioning is another separate thing. So that's, we're going to need to do new heating and air conditioning for the sanctuary. We expect that'll cost around $75,000. We are eventually going to need a new roof for the main building. That's going to be around $100,000. We eventually will need to repair the steeple. We have no idea how much that costs. No clue. But that's coming. And the parking lot, this is something you're aware of already. The parking lot needs some work, right? We have not repaved it or even resealed it in quite a while. The lights in the middle don't work. So sometime we're going to need to take those lights out, repave, repaint, all that. The retaining walls at the end of, around the parking lot over here, you may have noticed that some of them are kind of decaying. So that's another thing that we're going to need to look into, right? So there are expenses that are coming eventually. Sorry, I have one more, which is two more, sorry. The drain line, and this is not something I know a lot about, so if you have a question about this, don't ask me. But the downstairs bathroom drain line will need to be replaced eventually. And then the other piece is the Grace Place, which is the house just above our church over here that currently Tyler and AJ are staying in. It's just an old house. It just needs a facelift, right? It just needs to kind of get a redo. That's coming sometime. So there are expenses on our horizon. All of those things are not things that have to happen today, but they do need to happen. I'm going to hand it off to Steve to talk about big ideas.
Good. So Lloyd's got plenty to do coming down the pike for property. All right. So not last October, but October 2023, coming out of sabbatical, we began a congregational conversation about a big idea that the council had been having for a while about how we might best use our property. You'll remember we talked about what it would look like to build housing for those in the workforce using the back part of our property. So the council has continued that conversation. We asked for feedback. We got great questions and thoughts. We've continued work on that for the last 18 months. One of the challenges we're running into is also the problem, and that is it's not really affordable to build housing that is attainable and accessible to people in the workforce. So we haven't given up on our idea entirely, but we'll need more ideas or solutions before we can move forward, is basically where we've landed. So we're going to keep this idea out there, not walk away from it entirely, but in the meantime, we feel like there's some other projects that we can do now that could benefit our congregation and the community, and then we can continue our conversation about how best to utilize that property moving forward. Another kind of problem too is we've yet to be able to secure the AT&T property. That's the center image there, that little piece that comes into behind our main parking lot over here. Without that property, the other ideas we had are just not going to work. So we continue to work with them. I've made this joke now. There's only one organization that runs slower than the church, and apparently it's AT&T. So there you go. If you have AT&T, you might know. But in the meantime, we said, well, now what could we do while we're trying to sort out? Do we just sit around and wait till the idea comes together, or are there some other things that we could do? So what you'll see on here on the right side of the screen is a proposal to expand the back parking lot. Two reasons to do that. One is the fact that our sanctuary and our parking do not match. So on a full Sunday or a full funeral, we do not have enough parking. And in the past, we used to be able to kind of utilize parking that's in the area. For better or for worse, I think it's good news. Crosspoint, this church over here, has grown a little bit. They're utilizing more parking in the Earth Fair area. And St. Luke's kind of has their own parking. So with 3, and now at the Advent Church, Mitch has been there a few years now, the pastor at the Advent Church, and they're growing a little bit. So it's good news that our churches here are growing. The bad news is it's going to be harder to find a parking spot if our lots fill. And so we're looking into that. We're working with municipal. I met with planning and inspection just last week, and it looks like it won't be as hard as we thought. So we're working on this plan. We don't have it yet, but this will be coming soon. Then also during the week, we can open that up for student parkers, and we'll have it available for football as well. So this is something we're looking to do maybe as soon as this year or next. Let's see. Josh Kanoy is the contractor who did our youth room last year. We've talked with him about what an update to the council house would look like. That's our LSA house in the back. The idea would be maybe to convert that to some available housing for students on the upper level. But we have some work that needs to be done in that house. The biggest issue right now is the electrical of that house needs to be updated. And so we've asked for that bid to come in as quickly as possible. So I know they were there last week. So hopefully we'll get an electrical bid, and we'd like to move forward with updating that electrical. It's a huge part of the project. The other things are more cosmetic. But that's what we're thinking for the council house. So if you imagine right now that back property expanded, parking lot, and the council house up to its highest and best use. And that's where we're going to ride for a little while. Future projects that we have talked about, if we're not going to do a housing for the community, we could look at a new campus ministry center on that back property, something that was talked about way back in 2007 when we purchased the property. And so that's kind of an idea that looms out there, but that's more of a long term. In the near term, we'll do the parking lot and get the council house working as best as it can. And I've already mentioned about the AT&T property. If we were able to acquire the AT&T property, the thought right now is that we would put another house on that property, a small, thin house on that property, with the long-term perspective of the church really needs 2 housing solutions, when I retire. So we have a house that would be available for a pastor and a house available for a campus minister long-term. And that would set us up well when I ride off into the sunset. I got a little ways to go. I got a little ways. We got some time. Wilkes property. We talked about this at the annual meeting of the congregation, just to put on your radar. This is what the 2 pieces of the the Wilkes property look like together out in Wilkes County. Since our congregational meeting, we've just here this last week signed a contract with American Forestry Management. They do forestry management plans and also real estate for forestry and recreational properties. Our agent is Jamie, last name. Jamie something with the last name. I'm forgetting now in this moment. I did not put it in my notes. We're working now on what it would take to list the property and make it available. They said properties like this could take up to a year to sell. So we've signed a 1 year, I think a 13-month contract with them, which starts here next month. In the meantime, things we're going to have to do on that property are we're going to create a road on the right-of-way. We own a right-of-way. There's never been a way to access the property with a road, so they're going to have to take out, I think it's 13 trees and put something like a road, not paved or anything like that. But they're saying if people want to come see the property that they're thinking about buying, they have to be able to get on there, and it needs to be a road sufficient for like a truck and a trailer, because you're going to need a four-wheeler or something like that to explore the property. Those who've been out there know. So that's moving ahead. That's what our plan is. We're going to work with a contractor to put a little road in. Jamie's got a recommendation. I found somebody locally as well. So if we can get that done, then we'll get the property listed and hopefully move forward with the sale as we had talked about. As a heads up, once we get a few more details together, we will probably have the council will probably call a congregational meeting around the time we're listing the property. And we'll ask the congregation to approve the sale of the property at a base level price. Basically, you, congregation, will give the council the opportunity to negotiate as long as it doesn't go below a certain dollar threshold. Because we don't want to publicize that and hurt our negotiating position, you'll hear us talking about a strike price or something like that. We're not going to publicize that. We're going to speak that aloud in the meeting and put it into the minutes that will get onto the website, when we get around to it. But the congregation will meet, approve the sale at a certain level. We're going to list the property for more than that, and then hopefully find a nice middle ground. But we need to have the ability to move quickly, because we think, at least Jamie tells us, this will likely be somebody buying with cash, and if they want the property, they're going to want it now. So we'd like to be able to sell it and move quickly like that. So just watch out for that. I don't know when. We don't have a timeline for that. Just watch. If we call a congregational meeting, it'll be a special meeting, one item of business. It'll be the Wilkes property. We currently pay taxes on that property. It's about $5,000 a year with the taxes and insurance. Yeah. All right. I'm going to hand off to James.
Okay. So we mentioned Tyler earlier. I did not pick the photo. This was not my creation. We mentioned Tyler Ruddy earlier. Tyler, many of you know Tyler. If you don't yet, you should. I should stand in the frame of my camera over here. Tyler has been with LSA for 4 years. He is currently a senior, and he is... he has a plan for after he graduates, so good on you. I know some of our other seniors are like, yeah. But Tyler is going to be attending seminary through Wartburg University, and he will be doing so virtually. And as you may already be aware, we don't have a vicar intern currently, a seminarian, and you may not be aware of this, we are unlikely to get one soon. Essentially, the way that our Lutheran seminaries are doing internship is changing, and the sorts of students who are attending Lutheran seminaries are changing, and those are connected. Fewer of the seminarians are 22. More of them are 40 and have children and are not moving here and there and the other every year. What the council has decided to do, and I think you're going to like it, is take on Tyler as an intern, not a vicar, although we'll probably still call him vicar. But this is different. He will not be doing his official internship year like we are used to with a vicar. He will be an intern at Grace Lutheran for 3 years-ish while he is attending classes full-time online. We're really excited about that. I'm really excited about this. I think the council is too. I mean, the vote was unanimous, so I think we're excited about it. I think this is going to be really good. I think the alternative is no vicar at all. So you're better than nothing, Tyler. There's a few things that are good about this. One is that as a congregation, we have an interest, and we always have, in helping to nurture the future of the ministry in the Lutheran Church. And that is part of what we're doing, is we're supporting Tyler as he becomes a pastor, right? So that's really special. It's good for Tyler. It's also good for us. It's difficult for Pastor Steve to be the only pastor for the Grace Lutheran congregation, right? It's a big congregation for a single pastor. And so it's going to be good for Steve to have more opportunities to allow Tyler to preach and to take on some of the other pastoral roles that pastoral needs in this congregation. So it's going to be really good for us as a church as well. So very excited about that. Tyler will continue to live in the Grace Place, and it's going to be great. I think that's all I need to say about that. Great. Welcome, Tyler. And I'm going to pass it back to Steve again.
Hey, that's slowing things up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and we still need to finalize some details with Tyler, but it looks like about 20 hours a week, so it'll be about half of a full-time is what we think he can balance with the online school. So you'll be able to see a little bit more of him, though it's been fun to have him helping me out this year already. All right, hurricane response. This is our last major item. The Saturday after the storm, in our parking lot, we served supplies and food, and we did worship. And I think from that day forward, we have continued without stopping the relief efforts in this area. It's taken on a variety of different shapes and sizes. This is also kind of a little bit of a frustrating time as well, because we know there's need. We have resources and volunteers, money and volunteers, and but we're struggling to get the resources and the needs aligned. And that's not just us at Grace, that's the entire community. Part of what we've been working on is we're participating very actively in the long-term recovery group, and I'm looking for Chris as well there. Not just like me, I am participating on our behalf as a congregation. We also have wonderful members like Chris and like Charlie Wallen and others who are participating, not necessarily as Grace Lutheran, but also as part of the process. The LTRG.
Mary.
Ballard's here.
And Mary Ballard. Oh yeah, and Mary's there, yeah. And so the LTRG is the long-term recovery group. It's a multidisciplined kind of group coming together. It's nonprofits, it's church, it's local government. FEMA is there, Red Cross is there, United Way is involved. It's trying to get everybody at the table together to start figuring out how to solve that exact issue of how do we get the resources aligned with the need. And we've got a really long way to go, I guess is the other point too, is that this is not going to be over in 6 months. If you've heard of this, this is going to be years. It's more like a Katrina-level disaster in this whole area, and you're talking about years and years and years of work. I'm going to keep going, Roger, unless it's like... Okay. You may have noticed, pretty quickly, we have this trailer in our parking lot. That's the second of their 2 trailers. Lutheran Disaster Response has left a trailer here. And I'll tell you more about why it's there in just a minute. But what you need to know is it hasn't just sat there. It's been going back and forth or being filled. And it also is housing some extra supplies that we have too, that we're having a little trouble finding homes for right now, but that's okay. We have a little bit of an abundance of weird things that we don't need a lot of that will slowly work out into the community. Also, other things we've done is we collected blankets and coats, and we've been slowly distributing those. I think Western Youth Network took a ton. We've also been partnering with a lot of other congregations, and I don't want to name them all because there's too many. But that's been a really cool thing is churches, Lutheran churches from Minnesota and Chicago and Texas and California and all over the country have been calling here and saying, hey, we know you guys are hurting. What can we do to help? And so we have actually collected a lot of funds. We've distributed a lot of funds. We've collected more funds. Some of these checks are coming in from congregations, $7,000, $8,000 at a time. And so it's really an amazing partnership. And so I do feel some pressure. How do we align? How do we get our resources connected with the need? Two things we're going to do. One, you see Camp Noah. You see this here? We were reached out to by Lutheridge. Camp Noah is a program through Lutheran Services of Minnesota that they developed following a natural disaster. It's provided free to a community where people have been affected by storms. It teaches the biblical story of Noah, because it is a kind of vacation Bible school kind of thing, but it's actually a lot more than just that. It's about helping kids to work through the trauma of the event and build resiliency for the future. It involves school counselors or counselors available. We even talked about a therapy dog, which would be kind of cool. I'm looking at Anna here. Anna Wilder is going to be our coordinator for Camp Noah this summer. It's June 16th that week to June the 20th. We will need your help, for sure. Lutheridge is going to send us counselors, but we'll need other help. We're still even trying to figure out what that looks like. But I wanted to make sure I pointed out Anna. We met this week. She's got a long list of questions for Lutheridge. We got a lot of planning to do. But if you think you'd like to help provide this camp here in this space for up to 40 kids, hopefully that have been directly affected by the storm if we can find them. I guess all the kids have been in the community. So more to come. More to come on this. But we may need food. We may need volunteers. We're going to need some help. The week of June 16th, just make a note. So Camp Noah is coming here to Boone, which is amazing. The other thing, I put the council house here. On Monday night, the council approved an agreement with Novus Way, who is over Lutheridge and Luther Rock camps. We're going to be converting the council house for the summer months into a retreat place to house volunteer groups who are coming in from out of town. As a curious turn of events, is Bree here? Oh, Bree had to run. Bree, one of our campus ministry students, her mom, Amy, has been hired by Lutheran Disaster Response to be a volunteer coordinator for all of Western North Carolina. And so she's working alongside Lutheridge to figure out groups. And so they're already booking groups to be at our council house all summer long. So it'll be 8 straight weeks that we've signed with the possibility of some more. So we'll keep you posted. That's why we want to get the electrical done. But we may need bunk beds and other things. So we will be housing volunteer groups all summer long here at Grace. We had Camp Noah. The third thing that we're working on right now, there's actually a lot more than 3, but the third thing is I've been in conversation with Lutheran Disaster Response. They have money at Lutheran Disaster Response of Carolinas. They got a grant from the National Lutheran Disaster Response. They have enough money for one more full-time position. And I've been lobbying hard to put that position here at Grace. So this person would kind of come to our community or be a member from our community. Their primary job would be to supervise the construction work that the volunteers will do. And they would utilize this tool trailer that Lutheran Disaster Response has left. I've talked with Harold, maybe we could utilize the Grace Builders trailer and have 2 work sites going. So we're still in conversations about that. That could come together pretty quickly. On our end, we would do payroll and maybe provide them some office space and things like that. But there will be lots of opportunities, I hope, for our congregation to get involved in a more hands-on way, particularly after the summer, once the volunteer groups are kind of through. So these are some of the things we've been working on. And we're waiting for the long-term recovery group to keep working to get organized. They'll hopefully provide the cases for us, and then we can match the cases with our construction manager, who can then team it up with financial resources and people resources and what we need to start trying to work at this major community problem that we've got, challenge. So more to come on that, but thank you also to everybody who's been so generous to the disaster response funds. We've given out, I should probably have looked that up. I probably have given away $20,000, maybe $25,000 in grants, usually to other organizations. High Country Caregivers is one that we've helped get some trailers for, supplies. So we've done a lot already, and there's plenty more to do.
We're almost done. The last thing I have to say is that Grace Lutheran has a phenomenal staff. And I'm not going to name everybody, but I hope you know who they are. If you don't know who they are, come and talk to me. I'll tell you. And they are incredible. And they do incredible work, including our pastor Steve. Right during the hurricane, after the hurricane, Pastor Steve has been working hard. And he is not only a spiritual guide for us in this room, but he has led the volunteer efforts after the hurricane. He has organized people. He has sent, several hundred emails every day, right? He has done so much, and so have all of our staff, both in regards to the hurricane and in regards to just the life of the church. And if you haven't had a chance yet, be sure to thank them for that. That's all I have. Make sure to eat lots of food. It looks like there's lots of desserts left. Thanks be to God.